Hello and welcome to the Rangers Rabble interview with Zeb Jacobs. Thanks very much for coming on, Zeb. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to give an insight in what's going on in my role from an academy perspective, my background. I'm happy to be here, William.
That's great. Thank you very much. Okay, I'll not take up too much of your time, so we'll just kind of jump straight into the questions. Obviously, you're actually quite young in terms of like coaching. A lot of people are still playing football at your age at different levels of the game. How did you actually become, sort of interested in coaching at such a young age?
Yes. So, first of all, when I was younger, I played always at the highest academy level in Belgium. So, I played for the national youth teams until under 19, under 18. Played in elite academies, Carver Mechelen and Royal Antwerp. Went to performance schools in Belgium. So, I had like one aim all my academy time. I want to become a professional footballer. Um, and then at a certain moment, when you're 19, 20, you hear you're not good enough to get a professional contract. And then that dot disappears. And then you make decisions in your life. And I was lucky that I studied enough. I went to high school, studied youth criminology, start studying, doing my licenses because, you have those football. It's like an identity you have. Once you're in the game, you'll stay in the game. So I always had a feeling I want to do something with it. I did my license and start coaching just around the corner in a boys' club, but always kept in contact with the teams where I played until at a certain moment, my academy director at that time when I was playing at KV Mechelen texted me, looks up, we have a position available for the youngest age groups. Are you happy to start your coaching career and just see where you can go and which direction you can go? And I just took it. I think sometimes you need to jump, even you're ready or you don't know you're ready. You just need to jump and go and take it. And then before I know, I was in an elite environment coaching with the best players in Belgium. And I felt that my study, youth criminology, youth development, my background as a player, as a youth academy player, and my licenses, those three things fitted quite well in each other. So I felt quite comfortable in coaching, and that's where my journey started. And I stepped away from the pitch, didn't play it anymore in lower levels or lower leagues. I was just all in on focus, and I loved it.
So obviously, when you started at Mechelen, was it a certain age group that you worked with, or was it just with everybody in general?
So in the beginning, I had like an age group, and then as soon that evolves, and I was skill development. So skill acquisition. I was responsible for um, developing younger players, all their skill development program when it comes down to receiving skills, when it comes down to 1v1 dominance, when it comes down to playing in tight areas. How does that look like? How does those progression looks like linked to the way we want to play? And then, of course, because we truly believe that giving an example on the pitch and training the mirror neurons of young children is quite important. So my background as a player, leading by example and giving the example of the pitch by inspiring them and triggering their mirror neurons was quite a good role for me. So then I come in skill development. And then as young as you are, you go online, start finding and searching research about skill acquisition, motor learning, and you go in depth. And before you know, you're all in and you don't get out anymore. That's where I am today.
Obviously, when you were doing the coaching there, was there always like a feeling in the back of your mind that you wanted to then take that next step? So when obviously the Royal Antwerp opportunity arose, was that something that you were really desperate to take?
I think, um, especially if you want to work in a high performance environment, you're always looking what's next. I think otherwise you won't survive. If it's at Rangers, there's another high performance environment. I think you need to be ambitious. The only thing what I think is sometimes important is that you know where your skill set is in terms of what next. I don't see myself as a head coach, and I will never become a first team coach. And by the way, never say never. But I don't see myself in that role because my skill set, I think, doesn't fit that. I have a skill set that I think fits what I'm doing today, and that's where I focus up, and that's where I want to become the best. So I'm always being ambitious, but very quickly I've seen what is my skill set, what is the role that suits me the best, and what is the best relation between who am I, where are my skills, and what do I actually need to do on and off the pitch. And I know that's not in the first team environment, but really focusing on player development, really focusing on pathways, skill acquisition, putting the right processes in place, keeping people patient when it comes down to looking at team, looking at winning, where I think my focus is really on how can we maximize individual potential for each player. So that's where I see. So I was always ambitious. I always want to become the best. I think that's something that you have in you or you don't have it. And I want to become the best all the time. But does that mean, do I want to become a first team coach? Not at all. I just want to be the best version of myself, the best version of the role that I'm doing. So really ambitious, but not in terms of I see myself up, just becoming the best and gaining knowledge and surround myself with the best possible people so I can maximize myself and my environment where I'm working at that moment in time.
So what was your actual job title at Royal Antwerp? Was it as like the sort of head of the academy, or was it like sort of different roles within it?
So I've played a little bit with roles because first of all, Antwerp at that time, the moment I came, they were not long. They have a really big history, Antwerp, but they wanted to create the future. And what I mean by that, they've been 12 years in second division. They went up to the first team. They had a new investor, and we totally rebuilt the academy. So I started, my first role title was like talent coordinator. And actually what it mean was in Belgium and in Holland, you have a real war on talent. It's always, because it's a small country, it's always who can have the players with the highest potential in their academy. And because Antwerp is quite an interesting region because of the city it is, we had to, one, develop and maximize the players we have, but also how can we keep them in our environment? What makes us different as Royal Antwerp? Why do we don't get players to lose to Bruges or Anderlecht or Genk? And how do we keep them with us? What can we do different? What can we do better? Where can we separate ourselves from the rest? Where can we be innovative? Where can we challenge the status quo? So my role at Antwerp, I think the job title changed a little bit, but eventually you can summarize is I had the responsibility to get the best people in the best environment, working the best players.
Okay.
So how can we get the best coaches to work with the best players and create the best program? And with programming, I mean, when it comes down to school project, curriculum, methodology, when it comes to coaches, very high potential coaches with energy, who wants to grow, who wants to be innovative, who thinks in players and not in teams, who think in processes, not in outcomes. So I was quite young at that moment in time, but I believe that responsibility allowed me, one, to make mistakes, and I've made them and I will keep making them. But automatically, when you make mistakes, you learn from them. And I think that was for me really accelerator in terms of my development. So I went from KV Mechelen, focused on skill development, to Royal Antwerp, focused on how can we create an environment that's new, exciting, innovative, and get the best people in the best building with the best players.
Right. See, that's obviously quite interesting in terms of what we do in Scotland. Obviously, this season we've obviously played against Ajax in the UEFA Youth League, and in some of the matches I've been able to talk to some of the people, and it's interesting how each country has a different way of how, like, sort of youth football's looked at almost. Obviously, in Belgium, that sounds a little bit different to what we do in Scotland to a point. So that's quite interesting that was your role and that how it basically expanded, to looking at all the different parts of it to become the best you can be. I think that's actually quite interesting for anybody that is obviously looking at academy football.
Yeah, exactly, William. And related to that is, this club where I work for is built on winning.
Yeah, of course.
And the club is unbelievable, and it's an unbelievable place to be. But when we talk about youth development, I think we also need to see it almost sometimes as a different sport. And because everybody's so ambitious, but the danger of being really ambitious is that your ambition overrules the speed of the development of children.
Yes.
So because we are so ambitious, we want to go and we want to push and we want but we can influence the development of children by creating the best environment, by having the best practices every day, by being innovative, by all the things we do in our academy at this moment in time. But the speed of development sometimes is just patient and sometimes respect each individual in their journey. And that automatically comes down on the type of recruitment. We are really conscious in the type of players we want to develop, we want to create, and that starts with recruitment. So often we select late developers because that gives an advantage in the skill acquisition. Because before the PHV, that's before they start really growing, that's the moment where children are really adaptable for skill development. So if we believe the technical ability is really important, so if the growth is a little bit later than normal, so late developers, smaller children, in really easy words. So the PhDs move a little bit later. That means that the ability and the gap that they're really responsible for tech development becomes bigger. So we are patient. We know exactly what we are doing. We know our processes. We know the challenges we will face. We know the direction we are going. That again creates, look, we're the most successful team, and we in an environment that needs to win every day. I get that, but we are your development. And what actually cares is how does the outcome look like in 5 or in 10 years? And if we look at, because I'm immediately go pushing further, if we look at and I see I'm here now for 9 months, and if I see not only the amount of debuts, but also the quality of debuts, because there are different things. You have clubs who only push for numbers, and you have clubs who push for quality. I think if you see Leon King's performances in the Champions League, in terms of quality, if you see Alex Lowry last season, his last games, quality. And if you look down at the numbers, if you see now in CEO, if you see McCann, if you see Divine, all getting closer and closer and closer and making their debuts. If you see Loveless, if you see Archie Stevens. So it's not only about numbers, we have numbers, but also about quality. And that's what actually matters. What we do at 13s, 12s, 11s, 14s, 15s, 16 is how can we, so we have a clear direction. It's the same when you step in your car in the morning in your GPS. If you don't have a destination, where are you going to? But we know our destination, so we also know the route, and we know what it takes. We know the challenges we will face. But we are so process focused, and we know exactly what the outcomes will be. And if we are consistent in this process, in our methodology, in our curriculum, in being innovative all the times, what can we do better? Where can we improve? What's next? The outcomes we see today will only grow and grow and grow, and in numbers and in the quality.
Yeah, well, I think the one thing that kind of stands out to me is the word patience there. Unfortunately, at Rangers, that's not really something that is very good amongst like the supporters, even obviously people that watch academy games. I think, as you pointed out, at a club like Rangers, there's almost like an expectation that basically that every age group will win every week, that will win every cup, that will win everything that's there. And also listening to you speaking the way you are, that's obviously different from maybe how I've grew up in terms of watching Rangers and what I expect. Maybe that's like a different mindset now that people have to get into and understand that the club's going to look at things in a different way.
Yeah. So related to that automatically, and I totally get your point, William. I totally understand that. But I think our academy is based on data, research, and experience.
Yes.
And all the research shows that if you look, for example, the date of births, how you see how many children that are born in the latest quarter of the year is really low. Why? Not because they have less talent, just because they have less development, where we give them a lot of attention because we believe there's where the potential exists. But also the way we play is our biggest accelerator of development. And what I mean by that is we build from the back all the time. We ask players to come and play in tight spaces. We ask players to create overloads, go and combine through the pressure, don't skip lines, go and play through the thirds. We ask players to step in from the back, go outplay 1v1s all over the pitch. Because we believe that, we don't only believe, but we see that the way we play is our biggest accelerator of development, because that's our identity. That's who we want to be. That's how we want to be perceived. But also, we believe that every player in our game model, in how we step on the pitch on Saturday, really easy, the intentions that will maximize their quality. Again, when I refer to my two minutes ago, that will increase the quality what we see at the end of the route in 5 years, in 6 years, in 7 years. And why is that? Why I'm always referring to 5 years, 6 years? Because if you're under 13 right now, you're 12-year-old. You need to be ready in 9 years. We don't need to prepare players from 12-year-old for the game today. We need to prepare a 12-year-old child for the game in 8 or 9 years when he's 20. So what we do, we also try to find research. Okay, how is the game evolving? How does the future game looks like? And how can we make players future proof? And because that's a really difficult exercise, one thing is for sure, if you're able to handle the ball, can you outplay your direct opponent? And do you have the willingness to learn and to go all in all the time? If those three things are already there, we are already really close. And if we can maximize this, we believe that this player will have a chance in the future game, no matter how the game will be played. We call it ball, game, body, mind. There are 4 pillars. But so we want them not to succeed now. We want them to succeed in 8 years. So we rather challenge them now in the way they play. We want them to build. We want them to go 1v1 in the back. And of course, William, you will lose games because of that. Because a center back of 13 or 14-year-olds will step in the pitch, will lose the ball, opponent will score, and you're 1-0 down.
Yeah, of course.
And we're the first on the sideline. Go again. Go again. Take the ball. Go again 1v1. We always have the end picture in mind. And that's so important when you talk about development. Don't look in the short term. How can we look further? How can we look into the future? How can we prepare them for that moment?
So is this something that's always been in your mind? This is how you look at player development. It's not a short-sighted thing. It is more of a longer vision over a longer period of time.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's not only me, but also all the research show that winning is a really poor measurement of development.
Right, okay.
So winning doesn't say anything how good players are or will become.
Right.
The context, when I talk about maturity, the game model, the way we play, the months they're born in, the expectations we set them, the amount of players we play 1 year up, because we believe player challenge is a big thing for us. We push players often in an older age group. So winning is a bad measurement of development. So we know that. That's what research says when they look down, okay, which teams were winning in younger age groups and how do they look like right now? And the best example is the research of the winner of the Youth League, Barcelona, and I forgot the year, which was 2000 and whatever. And you see where they're all playing right now. Not many are playing at the highest level anymore. So what I'm saying, that was a winning team, quite an old age group, but it's
Right.
no measure for development. It's about which individual has a chance. How can we create a team that become a vehicle, that can become a tool to accelerate the development? Because again, how does the future game look like? And how do we prepare them for? So it's not only me, and I think we are in academy, we're in a really good place when we talk about our academy director, but also a sporting director, the one club approach. It's not something that I say or something else say. It's something that we as an academy present. And it's something that's consistent through all our age groups. Sometimes we win, sometimes they lose. But one thing is for sure, we will play as a Rangers team and we will be us. So every time we step off the pitch after a game, did we try to be us? Did we try to outplay? Did we try to go all in? Were the processes right? Did we ask the right things? Did we challenge them? And the score will be the score. We cannot influence. What we can influence is how do we coach? What do we ask? And how can we prepare them for later on and do the right things now for the future?
Yeah, well, that was obviously going to be my question. In terms of youth football, so not just necessarily at Rangers, but in terms of like Scotland as a whole, how important is it for more young players to develop through the age groups and make it into first team football? Because in Scottish football, for me, it's important that you have a lot of players who have come through the system and have made that step up through the age groups and into a first team.
No, so if you look at the training ground and if you see the quality of the training ground, and not only because I've worked there, but also the international recognition we get for the environment and the program we have, it asks a lot of investment, and investment in terms of money, people, time, knowledge, whatever you want. We invest a lot. So is it important? Yes, it is important. Yes, but again, we can focus on the process and the outcome will be the outcome. We will do the right thing based on the research we have, based on the data we see, based on the experience we have. We will go day in, day out, based on those three things. We will go. And we believe if you look back in the last years and you see the quality and the quantity of the players that came to our first team with Liam King, with Divine, with McCann, with Paul Nasillo, with Loveless, with the players who are coming and getting closer and closer to the first team, we think that there is more to come. But being patient, give those guys time, because a couple of them are only 16-year-old. I've mentioned now 3 names who are only 16-year-old. And they are already playing in the highest performance environment in the world. They're training with the Champions League team. And they made a debut in a team that's playing in the Champions League. So being patient, give those guys the time, create an environment, one that's challenging, that challenges them every day, but also safe, that they can still make mistakes, that they can go and staying patient and give them moments and keep pushing them. And where do they need to improve to make the next step? And what's next? So is it important? Yes, it's important because a lot of time and knowledge and research, and our training ground is an unbelievable place for players and staff to work. So it is important, and it is, and will, I think, become even more a big pillar for the club.
What have you made of the sort of UEFA Youth League this season in terms of the 6 games, in terms of the level of the quality of opposition? Is that something that you feel is important for our players to learn from?
I think it's the best environment. We believe that best with best against best. So we call it just really easy our bestie best program, where we can put our best players, because they're all not at the same age. We have older guys, we have the younger guys, but we bring a group of players that we think we have high potential together against the best opponents in Europe, and we go and compete. We go and compete. And honestly, the outcomes were not always in our favor. But if you see the context of the games, the way we face them, the way we challenge them. But also, I'm coming again, we try to be us no matter who we're playing.
Right.
You saw us building from the back. You saw us pressing high. You saw us handling the ball in tight spaces. You saw us trying 1v1s. Because the consistency of the program is not only with the under 11s, but all the way to the youth league. Because this is us. This is who we want to be. And we believe that if we do this consistent, we will produce the players. So the variety of having a youth league game. Next week, you go and play in the Lowland League and another team. And then you go, some players will play in their 18 against Celtic, and then they will play in their main team against Dundee, and then they will push up in the men's team, and then in the youth league, and then some make their debut in the first team and train with the first team and come back. It's about those talent management piece. Which player needs which challenge? And it's a constant management. And because development is going like this, some players go a certain moment like this, then like this. It's on us to constant manage, okay, what is a challenge which players need? Which environment do we create now? Where do we put him right now to maximize his learning? Does that make sense?
Of course. Yeah, and I think the interesting from that point is that possibly in Scotland, we were always kind of the opinion that if a player was too good at under 18 level, we should get him out on loan and he should play at a level where he's playing against men. Whereas now, because the B team is now in the Lowland League, we now have that kind of step from the 18s into the B team, into the first team. Whereas before that wasn't there. So that's yet again another kind of part of the academy that's got stronger. And to see guys like sort of Bailey Rice playing in the B team, Paul Nsio's obviously been there or thereabouts. Archie Stevens would have probably played more if he hadn't been injured, obviously. So I think that's the interesting thing, to see 16-year-olds playing against men in the Lowland League. In my opinion, can only help them develop.
Look, 100%. And an extra layer for that is, one, we can control the program more, because when they go on loan, we still are developing at 18th and B team. And what I mean by that is that when we can keep them in our building, they can keep using our facilities. We can keep influencing the trainings. When they go on loan, we lose a little bit of control in terms of what are they actually doing during the week. So that 90 minutes on the game day is maybe more valuable. But what about the other 27 hours or the other 72 hours on the pitch? What's happening right then? So now that we are a little bit more in control and we can play with a program based on their needs and their development, is a huge advantage.
Okay, so the last question, probably the one that everybody wants to actually know. What is the head of coaching within the academy, the role that obviously that you've come in on? So what does that role actually entail? What is it you do on a daily basis? And what do you see the role becoming in the future years?
Yes. Unbelievable question, because I think the variety of my role, I think, and not only my role, because in general in football, you do so much different pieces to maximize the environment. But I'm going to try to summarize a little bit. I'm responsible for, one, the consistency of our curriculum and the implementation of it. Two, the coaching methodology. What type of coaching do we want, and what do we think is the best and sees the best for each age group? So head of coaching, how does coaching looks like in each phase? The third thing is, how can we keep evolving our program? What's next? So this is what we are doing today. I speak a lot with a lot of clubs around the world. Give an example, we're just a video call with Real Sociedad, FIFA, the German FA, Leipzig, Bayern Munich, where we show a program and we also get really recognized for a program. We're doing really, really good things. So challenging and see around not only in Europe, but globally, what's going on in best practices. Try to bring that to Rangers, implement that again in the academy.
Yeah.
So, and all this is with one main goal is player development. So if you ask me really simply, what are you doing? Head of coaching, I'm responsible for player development. The only thing I do is I create an environment, creating people, developing a curriculum, developing a methodology, improving the methodology, improving people, looking around the world, what's next, where can we improve? So creating an environment and building blocks to maximize player development. And that's a really wide range, because that comes down that you'll see me on the pitch, you'll see me with under nines, you'll see me around the professional phase, you see me with the 15s, you see me on a tournament with the 16s, you see me doing coach development, because all those things have an influence on player development. So player development is the center, maximizing potential. And every stone that's around those player development thing, everything that needs to improve to keep pushing players in the direction we want to go, I will be involved in that.
That's brilliant. So I think that's interesting, because a lot of people from the outside, obviously they seen the announcement that you'd obviously came to the club, that you were working at the academy. But I think maybe a lot of people from the outside obviously don't really know what actually goes on in terms of a lot of the groups. Don't you know? I mean, a lot of people obviously just focus on the first team.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the academy, a lot of things get missed in terms of what's actually going on.
Yep. And maybe the most important thing, William, what I forgot is, we always in our academy, we all speak about one club. So we also have a methodology group where staff on the first team, you have Kerry and Dave, you have academy director or B team coach, myself. We are a methodology group where we reflect a lot on what we are doing and creating alignment from top to bottom, but also from bottom to top. It's not only this way, but also this way. What are we doing here? And how does that look like here? And what are we doing here? And how does that look like here? And how can we create alignment and that pathway that we are consistency in our processes to maximize the outcome. So I'm also trying to align, because we have so much knowledge in the building, William. It's not only in certain areas, in all the areas what we do, we have really good people and people with a lot of knowledge. So my role is also the one club creation, maximize the people. Where is the knowledge and how can we use it? What can we do to support them, give them a platform to go and step on and influence the program again? So those one club, again, because it's aligned to player development. So player development is the pillar in central in everything I do, but there's so much around that when it comes down to creating alignment, environment, coaches, people, curriculum, methodology. So an exciting role in a really exciting club. And also I think maybe important to add is that we really get recognized for what we do also. We in the ECA, European Club Association, Holland, our academy director, is in the working group. We last had a visit from a coach from Mönchengladbach. So we get recognized for the quality of the environment, just the training ground, but also really for the quality of the program and the people, because we are doing really exciting things. And that's what I'm saying. Our process is all right. They're really good. If we can all stay patient and focus on the individual and not on the outcomes, and keep doing what's right, look at the way we play, who do we want to be, see, and sometimes put the ambition as adults, what we have, sometimes away, and respect the speed and development of children. If we can keep doing this, what we've seen in the last years of player development, players come to the first team, that number and the quality will only grow and keep growing.
That's great. Thanks so much for giving up so much of your time. It's been such a quick 30 minutes, to be honest. I hope people take a lot from the podcast, because I think, as I said to you before, I hope that people understand what we're trying to do. And obviously the interviews with the players, and obviously Craig Mulholland previously, and now yourself, I hope people can get an understanding as to what we are trying to do as a club and what the long-term vision is for the football club. And I hope people, obviously, the biggest thing for me there is just patience. If people are patient and obviously they give the lads time to develop and improve, then hopefully further down the line we'll see more young Scottish players who are making that breakthrough into the B team and then into the first team eventually, which is what every fan wants to see.
Brilliant. Thank you for having me, William. Thank you very much. I enjoyed it.